So here's like the hypothesis. So the hypothesis is if you're looking at a center of mass trace, which on like your gas plate would be like a letter D. It would kind of go like, it would start here and then it would move maybe up and to the right, and then it would hook and go down like that. Like that would be kind of like a little loop, okay? Now, if we think about that with the body, if the body's pushing in that direction, and I use the word push because that's what it's doing, yours goes up and then goes straight across. So there's not really a lowering component. Now, arguably, lowering could be done through the legs and whatever. But to me, it's kind of the process of rotation that causes that, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate, okay? So the demonstration, so that we don't get into mechanics too much here, the demonstration would look kind of like this. So if this is my center of mass, okay, and I'm overdoing it, up and to the right you already have. Now you should react to that, but your reaction is a horizontal push, okay? So, but if I was up and to the right and I rotated, and this femur was a little more external at address, it should help that hip. Because I think you kind of look like there, and it kind of looks like that, right? So if this was more here, I might be able to drop back into it. So go ahead and set up. So if I felt that, like what would that feel like? So the trail femur is external. And now as you get there, let it drop down and left before you get up. No, don't do that. So there, you feel how it dropped down?
Yeah.
Now you kind of want to do that a little earlier than you want. So as you're pivoting, yes, yeah, you did, that was perfect.
Yeah.
There.
So where do my problem is I get here and I feel like I end up having to back out of this.
Well, you're already backing out of it.
Okay.
So we'll address that next.
Okay.
Because you're backing out of it regardless.
So from here,
I want you to react to it. We'll see what it does. Well, that wasn't too shabby. Keep going. So it's not just like, this is the part where people get kind of messed up.
okay.
So what you just demonstrated there was a reverse hip slide, kind of like Zach Johnson, which is fine. Like if you, and you're not this guy, like you're a good player. Like you shoot under par. So if you're like a high handicap player, I would anchor you over there 100% because you got to hit the bottom, hit the ground, hit out. Well, you already do that and then your path goes too far right. So what happens is guys go, well, just swing more left. You can't. Like it ain't gonna happen because everything's already over there. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna push away from that point. It's gonna throw the path more right. So what typically guys do is when they do that pattern, they try to speed the arms up. Well, now you're conflicting something, right? Speed-wise. So what you need to do is change your braking pattern. And I don't mean braking with the arms or the wrists, kind of what your feet do.
Okay.
So we'll probably go down that road, but I want you to still have your up and right, so you pressure to the trail. It's just earlier getting there, and then we're going to apply a different force off that lead side. Okay, so we'll get to that, but just do a couple more. They're probably going to overdraw. That's way better. Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. So your reaction normally is a horizontal force. So it's going this way and then you push laterally, right? So it's too much lateral, too much lateral. So the argument would be, oh, just be more centered. Maybe, like you could maybe do that. And that would be a strategy, it would be totally fine. But if you're like, hey, I want to hit the crap out of it, you kind of can't do that. Like you need to be a hybrid.
I don't want to give up the speed. I mean, I hit the ball, like I create a lot of speed, but
Right.
it's too lateral. Like I want to keep the speed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have more torque, okay, horizontal torque. So I just gave it away. You need more horizontal torque. Okay, so in order to do that, you can't have a massive lateral. Okay. Argument would be Scotty Scheffler does that. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Scotty Scheffler's hands go in and come out, so he better go horizontal to match everything up. Okay. I don't care. Let's just be orthodox for a minute. So what you're going to do is, as you're here and you're going here, you go down. That's creating that D shape of the center mass.
Okay.
You have an option to where you push from. So if I went down and I push vertically, that's going to make me go this way. If I push back, that's going to make me go this way. You have to push away. So sequentially, your lower body's got to learn, because it's already going linear anyway. You don't need to add more of it because you already do it. You want to reduce it. So you're going to, when you hit the brake here, you're going to push from lead ball foot to heel earlier. And if you look, when I did that, I'll do it on camera for you. My rib cage, it's not this. Okay, it's not that, because that's wiped. It's boom, see, like Rory,
Okay.
boom,
Okay.
boom. So you see how this is pushing
Okay.
back. So this is straightening earlier, this is still closed.
So I'm straightening the left while I feel like I'm closed.
Correct, but you straighten the left back. So it's like you're pushing this way, from toe to
Putting
heel.
a little bit more friction forward to push it back.
Correct. So like when you go on Craig's gas plate, that is your anterior posterior push or force. And that will keep more horizontal torque kicking in. Now immediately push toe heel
Toe.
to heel that way, right. So that left hip is getting behind you. Right. And that will give you room for the right hip to come around, or create space for it. Good. Didn't do the first part, but you did the second part. Like, just map it. Good. Boom. Now AP, push. Right, keep pushing, but there. Good. And that will reduce some of the linear, so it 50-50s it out. Nope, didn't do the prior. So put more attention to the prior. So even if there's too much rightward path, you're okay, you can therefore reduce it,
Okay.
right? So like Xander Schauffele, this is actually truthful. This is like inside information. So Xander does too much linear, okay? He draws the ball. So instead of him, which you could do, I'm not saying you can't, thinking mechanically to swing more left, he just applies more AP force to straighten it out. That's it. And it's a more of an organic way of looking at things. But you can't do it if you don't lower the center mass down and left. So do it slowly, overdo it. Better, more. So that kind of went down and left.
So I need more down and left.
Yeah, watch my pelvis here. So it's like this. So I go here, right? Get phase one,
Yeah.
phase two. Phase one, phase two. Phase one, phase two. See, I'm already there.
Yeah.
Pressure's in the ball of my foot. I don't have to do anything. Boom, I'm there. That gives me room for this hip. Now, how slow can you do this to feel it? So overdo the first piece. Not overdone. See, I didn't drop it. To be fair and frank about this, the first part, that is your priority.
This is the priority.
Because you can play from there. You can't play from missing the bottom.
Okay.
Better. I'm just looking at it from a golfer's standpoint for a moment. It's like, okay, you already have a ton of frontal plane torque, which is the Ferris wheel going this way. Okay, like I get it, and then you're swinging out. you can play from there, right? But you're just doing it differently now. So then you can start reducing that. But you don't want to go back to this, because then you can't do this because you're going to top it or you're going to slice it. So there. Yep. That's way better. Slow as you can. Yay. Hell yeah. Beautiful. So like, you can look at it because you're a teacher, okay? You have a geometry side of things you're trying to satisfy, okay? So you just watched the lesson and it was pretty much all golf machine, right? Which was none of this. Then you have forces and torques, right? And they can mesh. But what happens is, like, if you go too much in the weeds on one or the other, you either are super dynamic and have no control of the golf ball, or you're crazy into geometry and you have no control of the golf ball, or you can't hit it anywhere. And like, how do you blend that, right? Like, if you're a super dynamic golfer, you could probably be more heavily weighted over here. Or if you're somebody with no structure, you need to be over here. So I think that's a cool thing to kind of bounce in and out of.
Okay.
And like, you don't have to get dogmatic or culty about it, which is what a lot of people do. They're like, oh, this is the only way. I'm like, well, shit. I mean, Patrick Reed's pretty good at golf. He figured it out, you know, and he has a feel and he has a ball flight and he does this, and he has this competitiveness, takes him to the next level. So I think for you, it's like, okay, you know, you're going to draw balls with your other pattern. So reissue that new backswing and still draw the ball, and then start reducing the draw through the new pattern. Because the other one you can't.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Yep, nails. And AP. Right. Way better. Way better. Good job. Minus what your shirt says on the back. Agreed. All right, a couple more. Do a couple more. So let's think of McIlroy for a minute, because I think this is a good one, right? So in McIlroy's case, so do your backswing. Land, right? So so in 2D, he's landing closed, right? Okay. He's landing his center mass down and left very aggressively, okay? Now, he does this, and he's capable of doing this because he's really good at using his right hip and his right leg. Well, he's very good at absorbing that force and then creating like good rotation around that hip, so that it pushes him more in there. So like, in a training perspective, and spiraling like that would help you. That wouldn't be a bad thing, getting in this position. And it's not a lateral slide. So like, for your higher handicap people, it might be like your high handicap players, it might be this, right? That's functional, but it's not Rory. Like, there's a difference. It might look similar, but it's very different. But that'll allow you from that point, because you lowered it, to react to it. Then you go, okay, I'm here. Am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? Or am I going to do that? Now, go ahead and go there again, and I'll show you something interesting. So because you're there and you apply a vertical force and an AP together, go ahead and feel that. So push open. That right there is what's going to put force through that handle. So that's going to line this thing up. So that'll release it. So when you look at McIlroy, this thing's wham, it's like that.
He cocks really hard on the other side.
Really hard. Yeah. And it torques around. So like the toe of the club, you can see it. Way better. Way better. You can do it more. He'll look more like this, where he's not sitting back. His rotation.
Right.
Once he learns
I'm
to get
landing into the ball. Right?
ball of the foot, yeah. Way better, dude. That's straight. Like, it's not like, and your launch can go up because this is lining up faster. You know? Which is directly the opposite of the last lesson you just watched me try to get a kid to hit it really, really low. But you see, like, the difference of...
I'm starting to micro-feel, I can feel it somewhat where I'm like, because every time I would go and I'd sit in the babe, I got a cancel, I sit for an hour and hit balls and be like, okay, I'm getting here. And I'd find myself, if I'm here, man, I have like this 7-8 degree path.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, then I'm just keep trying to turn on it quicker to even out the path, and then I'm all over the map.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that. I mean, look, for you, it doesn't work like that. But this is why, like, I teach different models. It's like, it depends who I'm dealing with. So if I'm dealing with a high handicap player, they need to feel like they reverse hip slide and get left and swing into out and push up earlier, and I get all that. But like, I get a dynamic college kid in here, and they kind of can do all those things, and then you got to add the right forces in there, and all of a sudden they're swinging 130 and they have a pattern. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, I have one kid who's almost hitting it too far now. Like, he's 185 ball speed average. I'm like, okay, and he's confined it. But his wedge game is more geometry based, because it's like there's too much going through the system. And that's a good thing. I'd rather start there than the opposite. So much closer. So that was a touch out on it. See, it overdrew a little bit.
Yeah.
So you start, now you know how to apply rotation without calling it rotation. Yeah. Birdie.
It's
That
higher.
felt great.
So, like, what are your observations after looking at V1 right there? Like, what were some big takeaways?
I mean, for the first time, me being able to see myself get in here, and when I push, I'm not pushing
Yeah.
this way hard. I feel like I can stay on top of it. I am a little bit confused on where am I going? Like, is my chest still continuing to stay back as I push? Am I starting to turn and cover left as I push?
Good question. So you don't have to feel like you're turning your chest. Okay. When I say I don't, I'm saying I'm leaning on this side of never saying to do that to some players, but some players have to feel that. Like, it's one of these things, like in golf, like we can see what 2D video is saying, but sometimes a player might feel like they're covering it. For you, from the 2D picture, you don't need to do that because you're on top of it now. And in fact, if you did cover it, you probably lose vertical, and that would be a problem, right? So to me, it's a reactionary thing for you. If you can lower that center mass down and left, you're going to push, and as long as you're applying AP early enough, the left leg extends back and straightens early enough, your upper body stays more forward. Now, that does change the pelvis, right? So like the hip height starts to change. Your right hip won't be so low so early.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit more stable, which helps the axis stays on top. All things considered, I think this is probably the two phases you need to get really good at. Okay? And it should zero out the path.
So, to review, my
Femurs more external.
more external. Push, load, and then from here just push the left leg back and turn.
Yeah. Precisely.
All at the same time.
closer. A minute straight. And you just work towards that. So the reason why we're doing the femurs, okay, is that you set up with your knees somewhat internal and valgus. So your knees go like this. The arches of your feet are not supported; they're inward, and it's tough to get your hip to react. It wants to slide over to this outside of your foot.
I have the same issue when I lift my knees.
Yeah, so that might tell you something. Like, there you go. Sick. Whoa. That was a really good backswing.